Hi, I'm Rodrigo from StageWave. Today I'll show you how to set up StageWave from scratch to get the best technical performance. For this test, we will use a Behringer X32 rack mixer, an HP computer with a 8th generation Intel i5 processor, a 3-band router D-Link model DIR3040, plus devices for musicians, iPad, Android, iPhone and a MacBook. Let's start by downloading and installing all the software necessary for our system to work and also to configure it. We will do this on a PC connected to the internet, not yet connected to the router we will use for StageWave. We will start with the driver, then StageWave Server, and finally Netspot Free Edition. Okay, let's download the driver. For that, we'll go to a search engine. We'll look for the official Behringer site. We'll go to the official site, then to the software section, and we'll look for the driver. In this case, this mixer comes with a USB card called XUSB, and we download the latest driver version. We look for it in the list, and here we find it. The latest version is 5.12. We click on it and it starts downloading. Once it is downloaded, we are going to install it immediately. We extract the files and start the installation. We click next, wait for it to finish, and it is already installed. Once the driver has been installed, you will see that in the system tray we have an icon of the driver panel. Next thing is download StageWave Server. For that, we are going to our StageWave account on our website. On the homepage of your account, you'll see the StageWave Server download, which will be the first thing you'll see. Here we are going to download StageWave Server for Windows or for Mac if you are using Mac. Let's download it. We see that the download is complete. If you see a warning, just click on the 3 dots and save. Then show more and save anyway. Then we go back to the downloads folder. We will have the installer. We'll start the installation. Let's choose to install it for all users of this Windows PC. Let's start the installation process, which is pretty quick. It's done. We are not going to run StageWave Server now, because we are going to continue installing software. Now let's install Netspot. You need to go to the Netspot website and then download Netspot Free Edition. The download should start here. We wait for the download to finish. We go to the Downloads folder. And now we install Netspot Free Edition. We start the process, we wait for it to finish. When finished, Netspot will run. Now we have all the software we need to running and configuring the system. Let's move on to the mobile devices. With this Android phone connected to the internet, let's download it. Let's go to Play Store and search StageWave to find the Musicians app. We install it, we download it. With the iPhone, we are going to do the same. We are going to search in the App Store. We search for it. We see that it is here. Now with the iPad, we install from App Store. We search for it and download it, and the same with the MacBook. We go to the App Store, we search for StageWave and download it. Remember that this is the app for musicians, separate from StageWave Server. We are going to continue connecting the mixer to the PC, and for that we will use a USB cable, a typical printer cable. This mixer, the X32 rack, if we look at it from behind, you will see the audio interface USB port. Over there, we will connect the mixer to the PC. We connect it with our USB cable, and now we simply connect the same cable to the PC using the same USB cable. Once our mixer is connected, what we are going to do is go to our PC and enter to the mixer's driver panel. Now I'm going to turn on the mixer, and we are going to wait for the PC to recognize it as an audio device and for the driver to do the same. Okay, the driver has now recognized our mixer. Now we are going to go to the tab Buffer Settings. We are going to choose 128 samples because that is the default value for buffer size, which uses StageWave. And we are also going to disable safe mode to obtain the lowest possible latency. There are drivers in which, instead of having a safe mode, there is a selector with different latency types. The idea is to choose the minimal latency value available. Once our mixer is connected, what we are going to do is connect the PC to the router. The router obviously needs to be connected to the power supply, and we are going to use a Cat6 or higher rated Ethernet cable to connect our router to the PC. Always we must ensure that it's connected to a LAN port, not to an Internet or WAN port, always a LAN port. Then we connect the same cable to our PC Ethernet port. If the computer does not have an Ethernet port, you can use a USB-C or USB 3.0 adapter. Once the router is connected to the PC, we will begin its configuration. And for that we need its IP. To get the IP, we will go to the command prompt and we will enter the command ipconfig. We have to go to the network settings, but Ethernet. If you look at the bottom, it says Wi-Fi. That's not one we need. We need the Ethernet. We look here where it says default gateway. We copy this address, which will be the IP address of the router. Copy and paste the address in the web browser, and you will see the router setup website. This router has the factory settings, so we need to configure it. We accept. Next. I understand. Here is important to choose DHCP in case one day you later want to connect the router to the internet. This router is not connected to the internet at this time. Here we are going to put the name of the network. This is the password to enter to the router configuration. We are going to put the same one, the time zone, and then I want to choose when the device updates. We see a summary, and now we click next to finish the configuration. Now we have to wait for the router to restart. We wait 30 seconds. Okay, the router has reboot, all good. Let's check that our new password works. Cool. Remember, this router is not connected to the internet. Now let's go to Netspot to complete the configuration of our router. We need to do a scan of nearby Wi-Fi networks. To enter Netspot, the computer's Wi-Fi must be on, and the computer must have a Wi-Fi card that supports 5 GHz Wi-Fi, because that's the band we are using for StageWave. We click the chart icon, we select 5 GHz, and this is super important. We need to select all the networks in the list. Note that here we have the name of the network that we just configured, the StageWave. And notice that we have two, because we are using a 3-band router with two 5 GHz bands. Let me explain a little bit about what this graph are about. This graph symbolizes the power in height and the location in the spectrum of frequency where each network is located. For example, this yellow one is one of my networks in channel 149 with an 80 MHz bandwidth, and the other Wi-Fi network is here in channel 36. Note that we have interference with this one, and this one here has interference with other networks. What is the idea? For the StageWave, we need to avoid as much interference as we can. So we will configure the router for using this area here for having less interference. Besides that, we will lower the bandwidth of our Wi-Fi networks. We are going to configure it on channel 165 with a bandwidth of 20 MHz. Also, they have the same name. We are going to give them different names so that let's know which of the two networks corresponds to which name. So we are going to go back to the router and we will go to the Wi-Fi settings. The first thing we do is disable Wi-Fi mesh, Smart Connect, and we are also going to disable 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi network because we are not going to use it for StageWave. This option down here too. If you note, when we were at Netspot, we said that we are going to use channel 36, and that is what we are going to do. But first we have to configure the bandwidth. We set it with 20 or 40 megahertz. Now we are going to tell it to use the channel 36. With the secondary network we will do the same, lower the bandwidth and use channel 165. Finally, we are going to configure different names for each networks. To this one we are going to name it StageWave 1, and to the other one we are going to name it StageWave 2. Now we click save, and again we have to wait for a while for the change to be saved. Now the router configuration is ready. Now we are going to back to Netspot to check how we did with the router configurations. Note that networks have changed on the graph and there is not so much interference with this one here. Although we have a little interference here down there, the power of that network is not very high, so most likely the system will work very well. And on this side, the second network was configured on channel 165 and no longer has any interference with other networks. Excellent! Another very important configuration before opening the system on musician's device is disable any firewall you have on your computer, whether it's the internal one for Windows or any antivirus that you are using. For that, we will go to the firewall settings, activate or deactivate. We deactivate it. This way we save ourselves the problem of a firewall blocking the connection between the musician's devices and the StageWave server. And one last recommendation is edit the computer's power plan so that it doesn't turn off. Sometimes the computer running StageWave Server is left alone and forgotten. That's why it's important that that PC doesn't turn off. So we go to Power, Edit Power Plan, and we are going to choose that when it is connected to the power grid, the screen never turns off and never sleeps. We save the changes. This way we make sure that the PC does not turn off while StageWave is running. Before disconnecting our PC from the internet, we will start StageWave Server to enter our email and password, and so in the future, when the PC is disconnected from the internet, StageWave will remember our account. Once we are logged in, we can close it for a while to make sure that the PC's Wi-Fi is completely disabled. Because the router might be connected to the PC via Wi-Fi, which could cause issues. We are going to disable Wi-Fi to prevent this problem. Now we start StageWave Server. We are going to start with a free 10-minute session with the test mode. Note that our mixer has already been recognized with its driver, and I already have signal. Now we are going to configure the Wi-Fi network on this phone. For that, let's go to the configuration. We are going to configure the network that we just configured on the router. We enter the password that we created. We wait. Note that it says no access to the internet because this router is not connected to the internet. We are also going to close this settings application so that it is not going to interfere later. We do the same with the iPhone by going to Wi-Fi settings. This time we will connect to the StageWave 2 network. We need to be careful with the password and wait to the process to finish. We close the settings app. To connect this MacBook to the router, I'm going to use a network cable and not Wi-Fi. So I'm going to use this USB-C adapter. I'm going to connect the Ethernet cable to it, connect the adapter to the MacBook, and the other end to the same router into a LAN port. To use this MacBook wired, remember to turn off Wi-Fi. I also want to use a network cable with the iPad, so we are going to use this Ethernet adapter for iPad and iPhone. We connect the network cable to the adapter to the iPad, and for make sure not to use Wi-Fi, we will use airplane mode and turn off the Wi-Fi. This way we make sure that the Ethernet cable is being used. Something very important is to prepare phones properly. For that, we go to the configuration, we activate the airplane mode, we make sure that Bluetooth is off, we turn off localization services, and we activate the Wi-Fi. Also, if we are using Android, we must make sure that all other apps are closed. For iPhone, we do the same. One detail that I want to point out is that the Bluetooth is not always turned off properly, because sometimes it stays white and is not completely turned off. We activate airplane mode and note that Bluetooth stays in white. To completely disable it, we must go to the Bluetooth settings and turn it off there. We are also going to deactivate localization services. For that, we go to Privacy, Localization Services, and deactivate. Finally, we are going to check that we are connected to the right Wi-Fi network, and so we are. And always remember to close the Settings app. Now, what we need to do is start opening StageWave for musicians on each device. we are going to open it on each device. Okay, now StageWave is fully open on all 4 devices. We can confirm this because all connected devices appear in the devices list. When the system is running and we want to check its performance, we don't need to play music or any audio signal. We simply go to the performance view, where we can monitor the system's status in real time. You'll see 2 indicators, network and device. The network indicator shows whether the network is stable or not, and the device indicator tells us if the phone can process the incoming audio from the network. A chart above displays the history of these indicators in real time. At the bottom, there's a slider that allows us to adjust the buffer size on the device. The lower the buffer, the lower the latency, but stability might decrease. The higher the buffer, the higher the stability, but latency will increase. Note that the network is very stable because we properly configured the router and the driver on the computer. What happens if we lower the buffer to the minimum? If the network is stable, there might only be a slight instability. However, if the network isn't stable, glitches might appear. The system is currently running well. Some small instabilities might occur, but the indicators will turn yellow or red if the system struggles. To avoid instability, simply increase the buffer size. For example, setting it to 10 ensures that the device indicator, blue, remains stable and flat, meaning the device is processing audio smoothly. The goal is to lower the buffer as much as possible while keeping the device indicator green. In this case, we can reduce the buffer significantly while still maintaining excellent performance. This is how the performance view works. Please note that the iPad connected via network cable is running at the minimum buffer size, yet its network and device indicators remain highly stable. Using a wire connection makes the network much more reliable, reducing the need to adjust for stability. To finish, we tested StageWave with 8 devices. 3 iPhone connected to the StageWave 1 network, 3 Android devices connected to the StageWave 2 networks, and 2 wired devices connected directly to the router. A total of 8 devices. Remember to always charge your devices before your presentations. If the battery is low, power saving restrictions may cause issues. We highly recommend using this router from D-Link. It's a 3-band router with 2 5 GHz bands, MIMO 4x4, and other band with MIMO 2x2. Theoretically supports up to 6 wireless connections, but we have successfully tested with up to 8 devices. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about the StageWave, just send us a message via the WhatsApp button in our website stagewave.io. Give StageWave a try by following the steps and you will get great results. See you next time. Bye.